Johnny Manziel makes me really, really sad. He does. And it's more than just the off-the-field issues he's had. I loved watching the guy play. I loved watching Johnny Manziel. One of my close friends, Liam, is a huge fan of Texas A&M football. And it's cool to watch Liam talk about Johnny Manziel because the guy lights up. I mean, it's like he's remembering what it was like when Johnny was there. There's clearly like an emotional response and memories are coming back to him. And man, I get it. I really get it. In spite of some of the, maybe undesirable traits that Johnny Manziel has, he still has found a way to be incredibly endearing. I root for the guy. He's like the little engine that could. I really, really emotionally have invested in Johnny Manziel. I want the guy to succeed. And he really, in college, he kind of became like almost a mythical character, a Han Solo type guy. Like, ooh, the legend of Johnny Football. It was a big deal. And I mean, in college, the guy killed it. He was the first freshman ever to win the Heisman Trophy. Look at his stats in 2 seasons in college. 2 seasons. He had 7,820 passing yards, 63 touchdowns, only 22 interceptions, over 2,000 yards rushing, another 30 touchdowns on the ground running. And by the way, all this happened in the SEC, the best division in college football. I mean, the guy shredded Alabama twice. He beat them when they were the number 1 team in the nation. You go, man, Johnny Manziel killed it in college. And then the dude was even a first-round pick in the NFL draft. So why did he fail? He was fantastic. Why did Johnny Manziel fail? What happened? And the obvious answer when you say this is, well, Zach, Johnny Manziel had off-the-field issues. Of course, Johnny Manziel couldn't make it work. I don't want to list them all, but he had all kinds of issues off the field. And that's what everyone says. They go, oh, well, Johnny was a really good football player who he couldn't get his act together off the field. And I looked at the film, and the truth is that it's much deeper and much darker and, much more sad. The reason behind why Johnny Manziel did not succeed as a NFL quarterback. So if you're up for it, if you're ready, if you're comfortable with it, I'm going to explain what happened to Johnny Manziel on the field. I want to look at, what's the film say about Johnny Manziel? When you watch Johnny in college, you see that the guy just had a ton of bad habits. The biggest one is this. The dude held on to the ball way too long. He wasn't great in structure. And he was at his best when he was running around and extending plays. And the problem is that Johnny knew this. The guy knew what he was good at. He knew he was good at running around, buying time, and throwing the ball downfield. I really believe when he dropped back, he would look around for easy completions. And if he didn't get the look he wanted, then he would just run around until somebody was wide open. He'd look for an easy, wide open completion. If it's not there, well, guess what? I'll just run around until someone is wide open. And he was incredible at this. Johnny Manziel, oh my good. I mean, no joke. I think if you were going to start a flag football team, you want 2013 Johnny Manziel. He might be the best flag football player ever to live. But the problem is, real football is different from flag football. And what Johnny Manziel wouldn't do and couldn't do was stay in the pocket and beat teams with just his arm. It's sad. It's true. Johnny Manziel was a running quarterback. A running quarterback. Not all quarterbacks running is the same. It's not all equal. So guys like Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson are quarterbacks who can run. Johnny Manziel is different from them. Johnny Manziel is a running quarterback. It's an important distinction. There is a difference. The difference between a running quarterback and a quarterback who can run. With Russell Wilson or guys like Kyler Murray, they can beat you with their arm. And running is just a nice added bonus. It's like DLC in a video game. It's extra bonus content. Oh, great. I'm happy to have that. Yay. But in contrast, Johnny Manziel, who is a running quarterback, depended on his ability to run in order for him to succeed. Without his legs, Johnny Manziel would not have succeeded in college. I would not have put up the giant, tremendous, extreme numbers he did. He wouldn't have been a first-round pick without his legs. And this is a really big problem if you're evaluating a quarterback. He's a running quarterback, again, not a quarterback who can run. I want to talk about a play from his last game in college. It's Texas A&M versus Duke. It's in the Cotton Bowl. And this is a classic Johnny Manziel play. It's an incredible play. He bounces around in the pocket. He literally leaps over somebody, avoids a tackle, runs around to the left, throws a touchdown to his running back. Unbelievable. Really fun to watch. It's a crazy good highlight. But if you look at the wide angle, you'll realize, if you look at the other film, the wide angle of this play, you'll quickly realize, oh my gosh, he had 2 wide receivers wide open. He had a stop and go on the left. The stop and go beat the man, he's wide open. Then he had a dig in the middle of the field, wide open. He even looks in the direction of the dig, right over the middle of the field, and sadly, he wasn't looking downfield. He's looking to run. Johnny Manziel made his life way harder because most quarterbacks just throw to the open receivers. Instead, he runs around, makes it more difficult. It worked, but it shouldn't have worked. And he passed up easy completions often to run around instead and make it look, frankly, I don't think it was planned, but he's like, look, if it's not there easy, I'm just going to run around and make something happen. I know this works. And it did work for him. It was fantastic. And he made it work in college with an average amount of studying, an average amount of preparation. The reality is he's a guy who couldn't stay in the pocket and consistently make high-level throws. And in college, again, the guy didn't need to. It worked for him. He didn't have a high-level understanding of defenses. Didn't really need to. He made bad decisions. There's a play on the goal line. A great example of this. A play on the goal line where he has man coverage on the outside, the right and the left. He's got to pick a side, right or left. And he chooses the wrong matchup. On the right side, he has 6'5" NFL wide receiver Mike Evans one-on-one with the corner. And instead, he throws it to the left to the wrong matchup and throws an interception because he's not throwing to his Mike Evans, fantastic NFL receiver. Threw to the wrong receiver, threw a pick. Happened a lot. The guy just wasn't well prepared. He wasn't well studied. He wasn't well versed on defenses. And, I call Johnny Manziel a running quarterback. Here's an example of his mentality as a quarterback. In 2012 against Alabama, Texas A&M called a screen pass. And Alabama played it perfectly. They were not fooled at all. They're prepared. Both sides are covered. Nothing's open. And growing up, if you're a quarterback, if a team covers a screen pass really, really well, you are taught, okay, throw the ball in the dirt, live to see another down. I talked about this in my Dwayne Haskins breakdown. I praised Dwayne Haskins for his ability to have discipline and not throw the ball, just live to see another down. It's hard to give up on a play, but it's important. Johnny doesn't do this. Instead, he tries to run, and as a result, takes a 1-yard loss and an unnecessary hit. And the lesson here is the guy would not let a play die. He had a running mentality, and he would he would never take a sack. He would always fight not to take a sack. And he would rarely throw the ball away. He would always fight to make every single play work, even if nothing was there. He would not let a play die. And as a result, he did 2 things. It meant he took a lot of unnecessary hits, and he threw a lot of really dangerous throws. But we need to focus in on this fact that he got hit a lot. It's really important. Don't forget it. The guy took a lot of hits. Because of his play style, the guy got rocked over and over and over again. He got hit. I cannot emphasize this enough. Johnny Manziel in college took a bunch of hits. He also made a ton of really dangerous throws. In 2013 against Alabama, Johnny Manziel made a ridiculous play. It's 3rd and 8. He runs around a bunch. He avoids a sack, then throws the ball up in the middle of the field. And his wide receiver makes an incredible catch for a first down. It's a wildly fun highlight. If you're watching SportsCenter, it's brilliant. If you're the director of SportsCenter, you're so happy. Yeah, you're a big fan of Johnny Manziel, and you love what he just did because he made your job so much easier. So it's a fun highlight, but the reality is, it's also a terrible, terrible play. One of the number 1 cardinal sins for a quarterback is you should not throw the ball up for grabs later in a play in the middle of the field. You can't just throw the ball up in the middle of the field late in a play. It's a bad idea. Young quarterbacks do this often. If I can give any advice to young quarterbacks, when you go through your progression and you get through the end of your progression, do not just throw the ball up for grabs in the middle of the field. A lot of quarterbacks do this. Find your check down, throw the ball away, be disciplined with the ball. Do not just throw the ball up in the middle of the field. Happens all the time. And Johnny Manziel got incredibly lucky in this instance. Against Alabama on 3rd and 8, well, it worked. Fantastic. But it didn't always work. And what it did is it set a really bad precedent, right? It's building bad habits that would come back to haunt him later in life. The dude threw a lot of interceptions on dangerous passes. The guy's kind of a riverboat gambler. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but the point is he was building a really bad habit. Another big problem he had is he relied on running and breaking tackles a lot. That's how he ran. The way he ran in college was, you can't tackle me. I'm a better athlete, and I'm going to break tackles and get away from things. And this was in college, right? He took advantage of poor tackling and the fact that he was playing against average athletes. I mean, look, above average compared to you and me, but in the world of football, a college athlete is not comparable to a professional athlete of any level. And whether it's AAF, XFL, CFL, or the NFL, they're all not as good. They're all better than a college football athlete. And Johnny Manziel was not particularly fast. He was just elusive. He was kind of a slippery athlete, hard to tackle. And in the NFL against better athletes, he was not going to be able to break those tackles. He had a bunch of success in college that wasn't realistic and didn't translate to the NFL because those tackles he broke in college, he wasn't going to break in the NFL. He wasn't going to get out of those tackles. He wasn't going to be able to run for 40 yards. And it's important to know, like, Johnny Manziel had some good moments. Johnny Manziel was not a horrible, I know I'm pointing out his flaws, but he was not a miserable quarterback. He was really great in the quick game. He had a lot of completions on quick, short passes. And occasionally he would dial up a fantastic throw. But frankly, this only happened like 3, 4, maybe literally like 5 times a season. On a consistent basis, Johnny Manziel was not threading the needle in the tight windows. Now, again, there's a throw against Alabama down the right sideline. It's a dime. It's a perfect throw into a tight window. But those throws were not common. Most of the time, in fact, an overwhelming majority of the time, when the guy had opportunities to make throws into tight windows, he wouldn't deliver. It just didn't happen. Over and over and over again. Miss, incompletion. He had below average accuracy and frankly, below average arm strength. I mean, Johnny did not have a high-level amount of NFL arm talent. That's not who he was. And finally, you must acknowledge, Johnny Manziel had a ton of help in college. I mean, his freshman year when he won the Heisman Trophy, he had an offensive genius, Cliff Kingsbury, as his offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. That's a huge advantage. Then you look at how he played. And numerous times, his teammates bailed him out with amazing catches. I mean, he threw the ball up for grabs all the time. 50-50 throws where either your guy's going to get it or the defense is going to get it. And he depended on his wide receivers making great catches. Usually he was throwing to Mike Evans. Mike Evans was a top 10 pick in the 2014 NFL draft. He was the number 7 overall pick. And to this day, Mike Evans is one of the best jump ball wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, in 2013, for context on how good Mike Evans was, 2013 against Alabama, Mike Evans had 7 catches for a whopping 279 receiving yards. So I think it's safe to say Johnny Manziel had just a little bit of help in college. So the guy was unreal, super fun to watch, really, really talented. But his game and his style of play did not translate well to the NFL, didn't project well. And as a result, when you watch film in the NFL, you go, oh yeah, all those mistakes, all those bad habits didn't pan out. And this is why, right here, this is why Johnny Manziel makes me so sad. It's heartbreaking. I mean, you look at his endless off-the-field issues, obviously, like it sucks. The drama off the field for Johnny Manziel is discouraging and sad. But on the field, I believe the guy was tremendously overhyped. He had some really bad habits in college, and they were constantly reinforced. They were constantly, his bad habits were encouraged because he had some success with them. The guy won the Heisman Trophy, and everybody was telling him he was the best. And sadly, I think he bought into it. I mean, if everyone tells you you're Superman and they keep telling you you're Superman, eventually you look around and you go, yeah, I'm Superman. Like, I understand. And then he was a first-round pick. Of course, the dude was confirmed. Everything I believe about myself is true. I'm a fantastic quarterback with great skills. And nobody told him, hey, you got a bunch of flaws. You got a lot of things you got to work on. And, your success is really success that comes from bad habits. You're getting lucky, dude. You're not prepared for the NFL. He was a first-round draft pick, and it should have never, ever happened. He should not have been a first-round quarterback. And what that did was it raised expectations tremendously. Johnny Manzell's story is a sad story of a guy who was constantly overhyped by NFL standards. In the NFL, nothing changed. He had the same playing style, but it never worked the same. I mean, sure, he had some moments, right? Just like in college, Johnny in the NFL was great in the quick game, but he had an average arm. He didn't have Mike Evans. He didn't have great play design like the coaches he had at Texas A&M. And he has an average arm. He struggled with accuracy. He struggled with arm strength. And he threw interceptions because he just didn't have an incredibly high-level arm. He couldn't drive the ball downfield like he needed to. He didn't have the accuracy he needed to. Couldn't win games from the pocket like he needed to. Because all those bad habits that were reinforced in college and were confirmed, you don't need these things. They work. He got to the NFL and went, oh, yeah, you need that. You need to be able to win games with your arm from the pocket. And against better athletes with better tackling skills, he was never able to run in the NFL with as much success as he ran in college. Touchdown runs became meager little 3-yard runs. And he passed up open receivers and made his life way harder by running around. I don't blame him. This is what had always worked for Johnny Manziel. But he held onto the ball way too long, and as a result, he got pummeled. The dude got killed, took way too many big hits. Remember when I said that his style of play in college caused him to get hit a ton? Well, the same trend continued in his professional career. And it's why he's been hurt so frequently, and a large reason why he's missed so many games throughout that time. He also, like in college, in the NFL, he refused to let plays die. Made a bunch of risky passes that used to work. The throws that used to kind of work sometimes ended up just being interceptions every single time. And I can't imagine the emotional toll this must have taken on Johnny Manziel. I mean, truly, this makes me sad. No wonder the guy had so many off-the-field issues. I mean, imagine your whole life, everyone tells you you're amazing, and suddenly, overnight, everything you've always done suddenly doesn't work. I just imagine the harsh reality hit the guy like a brick wall. And what's even more sad is the guy had flashes of success. There are two things that make me sad about Johnny Manziel's career with the Cleveland Browns. One, his team was awful. He had bad wide receivers. He had some really inconsistent play design that I didn't agree with all the time. But what's really, truly sad is that he played on a bad team, and yet he had some flashes where it worked. Slowly, he did make improvements. He did actually, oh my gosh, wow. He ran a little bit less. He was learning to hang around in the pocket. There's a play where he looks around. He doesn't run. He doesn't escape. He sits, works all the way through his progression, finds an open man. Dude, that's awesome. That's a progression of who he is as a quarterback. That's a win. There's a play where he slides left. Instead of running away from pressure, he calmly slides to the left, throws an out. It's fantastic. All of this makes me wonder, the flashes he had in the NFL, having success occasionally, it just makes me wonder, what would have happened if everyone had had realistic expectations? If he'd been a 6th-round draft pick, or if he hadn't won the Heisman Trophy, would things have been different? I think they might have. This is a weird story. It's an aside, but I think it matters. I think it's really important. I've met Trent Dilfer a couple times in my life. He's a former Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's the head coach of the Elite 11 quarterback competition. He once asked me whether I loved football or I loved what football brought me. Do you love the game, or do you love the benefits the game gives you? The fame, the people writing about you, the interviews, this and that. And it's a hard question to ask yourself. You have to go, man, like, do I love the game or do I love what the success is giving me? And I truly believe when all the success happened, Johnny Manziel fell more in love with the things that football brought him. But if he'd been a 6th round pick with realistic expectations, he might have been a solid backup. If the guy had been in love with the game and the process rather than the things the game brought him, the parties, the fame, the tickets, the courtside tickets, this and that, Twitter followers, he might have been a solid backup in the NFL. He really might have. But instead, all of his past success hung over him like a weight. I mean, in Canada, in the Alliance of American Football, all the attention, everyone was always chanting his name and chanting for him to play when honestly, like, he was just lucky to be on the roster. He was happy. He should have been happy to be there. And the expectations were dialed to 11 because of his past success. And man, it sucks. It just is like, man, expectations were so unrealistic for Johnny Manziel. He got nailed in the CFL. He ran around a bunch, got hit really hard, got injured. Or in the AAF, I watched his game, and he just didn't. He had an average arm. He wasn't great. He's not an NFL quarterback, and he never was. He never showed signs of being a great NFL quarterback. But the media overhyped him. He got drafted way before he should have been in the NFL draft. And I just look around, and at the end of the day, Johnny Manziel is just a really sad story of a guy who was constantly overhyped. I just want to say thank you so very much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. My name is Zach Schaumler. This is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports, and it is my favorite thing in the entire world. I love it. In fact, my dream is to someday do Strong Opinion Sports as my full-time job. If you believe in me, if you believe in that dream, please help me grow by telling your friends about the show. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter. Maybe you screenshot it, maybe you put it on Instagram. It does me a huge help if you can tell your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. Another way you can help me if you want, no pressure, I have a PayPal, paypal.me/Zach Schaumler. I also have a Patreon account, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. It does me a huge help if you want to. Really, if you have no money to give, no problem, please. The number one thing, if you want to help Strong Opinion Sports, the number one thing you can do is help me grow by telling your friends about this podcast.